I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that. Every Friday morning, Nikki at the Front Royal Chamber hosts a coffee break check-in. And it's
Ah,
been really well attended. I mean, there are anywhere from 8 to 10 people. I think at the most we had 15 people one morning. And I've
wow.
gotten in the habit because it's Nikki and she always lets me in first to just go ahead and get everything set up. And then I wander around the house and I'm making my coffee and I'm walking around and doing all kinds of stuff. And I was somewhere else in the other part of the house last Friday morning and I hear, Janet, where are you? I'm like, oh, Nikki must be on. And I had to come up
Yeah.
and get in front of my computer. How are
Oh,
you doing, my dear?
I am doing well. I feel very blessed and very grateful to be in the position where I am. And we've helped probably over 1,000 people since March. I mean, it is just nuts. But it's been crazy busy, and it's been very rewarding to me to be able to help people.
Well, I got to say, you guys have to say that you have risen to the challenge is just a gross understatement because I know you guys have been kind of the point of contact for everybody, whether it's a business owner or it's somebody looking to start a business. You're kind of the place where they come to anyway. And now with everything else on top of it, I can't imagine you're getting a whole lot of sleep these days.
Well, I do have to remind myself, and I do anyway, but to overthink my team because our job description 6 months ago versus now is like totally different. And they have definitely risen to the challenge.
Yeah, it does. I mean, my hope is that long term, what the impact has been from this pandemic, the good pieces of it stay. I
Yeah.
did a seminar a couple of months ago. I'm getting ready to redo it again for the Luray Chamber tomorrow. And it was on 10 things that your business should be doing right now. And it was mostly marketing and advertising based. And when I did it for my select, like my test group, one of the
Mhm.
things that I said was if there are things that you implemented because of the pandemic that have become very popular and that people like, you do realize you can't stop doing them now. You're
Right.
going to have to now figure out a way to continue that. And the pushback that I got back from people in that room about, no, we're not. We're not going when this is over and we can open. We're not doing takeout anymore. We're not doing this, whatever it was anymore. I was shocked and I thought, okay, well, that's going to be the true test of longevity for you guys, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep telling folks, and on every, town hall meeting or whatever I speak on, I'm like, you have got to be talking with your customers to find out their preference. As you say, just because we're reopening, there are still people who don't want to go and sit in a restaurant or go into a store and have found, hey, I like ordering online. I didn't know I did. you know,
Right?
but you're spot on. And, the businesses that don't pivot are going to be gone
Yeah,
by Christmas.
and we talked a little bit too, because some people were talking about how there were a lot of businesses that they were realizing that were closing because of the pandemic, and then were making the announcement midway through that they were never going to reopen.
Yeah.
And I said, I hate to sound harsh, but I got to tell you that means they probably weren't going to make it pandemic or not, because that just speaks volumes to what kind of shape they were in pre-pandemic if that's what's going on. And I know that sounds terrible, but it's the truth of the matter. And not every business makes it in the
Right.
best of circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. And, once they've expanded the time period, as you know, that they can use the PPP funds, but once that ends and at the same time those idle payments are going to become due, we're going to see a whole lot more businesses go under because they
Yeah.
won't be able to afford it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unless we get a vaccine before then and people feel safe again.
But even that's going to be relative, like you said. I mean, there's still going to be that certain population that even if they feel safe going out, because I'm one of them, I did not realize how lazy I really was until this pandemic hit. And I thought, you know what? It's great to go sit in a restaurant, but by God, if I can get it delivered to my house or I can pull up in their parking lot and they can put it in my car, why am I even going to go sit somewhere else when I can come back home and eat in my pajamas and watch what I want to watch on television?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Good morning, Guy Curtis.
Good morning. How are you all?
I am so
Good.
not surprised that you have like the games behind you and the headset, and you have fully embraced this work from home, haven't you?
I think so. The kids are done with school, so I reclaimed our desk in the house. So this is where the desk sits with a nice shelf. No books. Well, the books are lower, but the games are up high. So just playing games here at the household. Yeah.
I think that's been the most fun part for me, recording all of these shows now over Zoom, which is another thing. I may never go back to doing live shows in the stage studio again. I mean, and if I do, they're going to be so much less often than they are now because this is so much easier. But I love being able to see people that I feel like I've known for years from doing the show. And now I'm getting a whole nother perspective of what their house looks like. And I've had Justin's daughter, when we did a Tourism Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, we're on the screen, and all of a sudden in the background behind Justin, I see the door open and I see Amelia poke her head in. She does this little wave and then she closes the door and she leaves. And I'm like, I love this.
Yeah, it's been great, seeing coworkers with the kids pop in or whatever. But yeah, but I don't know. I think I'm not going to go back to campus next week. And so it's going to be different. It's going to feel weird. It's like seeing an old girlfriend you haven't seen for years. Whoa.
Yeah. It's going to be your first day on the job all over again.
How am I supposed to act? That kind of a thing. Yeah. What can I do? What I can't do? I don't know. But yeah, it's weird for everyone, but we got to get back to it, right? We got to get started.
Yeah, because none of it's we're never gonna move forward until we take that first step, getting back to whatever our and I hate that phrase, new normal, but quite frankly, there's no other better descriptive phrase because that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Life has changed.
So
well, thanks,
guys,
Christine, for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I was going to say, the big question will be, Janet, I have this bird that attacks my car and has been doing it from December to March. I thought it would go away over Christmas break, and it didn't. Like, it attacks the mirrors. I cover the mirrors. It attacks the windshield. And so that's kind of the joke on campus. People are emailing me ideas all the time of try this, try that. I even tried a sticky trap, and it came back. It got off the trap. So now, I'm like, I wonder how my bird's doing. I wonder if he'll be there when I get back.
Hopefully he forgot about you.
I know.
And if he didn't, that's going to be so creepy.
Yeah.
I think it was a very vain bird. Like, he would sit at the side view mirrors, look at himself, and he'd run into the windows of the mirrors of the car and the windows as well too. So I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of bird that was.
So I know, Christine, you've got a town hall meeting to do when we're done here, so I don't want to keep you too terribly long. Guy, how do you want to format the show? What do you want to talk about? What are your talking points today?
Sure. Just kind of, we're back in the full swing of things. We're trying to resume operations next week with our campus. All of our in-person courses with Workforce are starting up. And so we were resuming some courses, but also starting new ones as we enroll for the fall, assuming no conditions will change. We'll be in person with safe guidelines and restrictions, obviously, and best cleaning practices and so forth. So we're resuming operations, getting things started. But I guess just want to kind of speak to some of those training opportunities, but also lean on Christine a little bit too. I'm not really up to speed as far as what small business is doing. I know many of them have been impacted. Unemployment rate is up to 8, 9, 10, 11%, depending on where you are. And so my thought is just kind of sharing some of our training opportunities, kind of revisiting what we've talked about for years. Those who want to reinvent themselves can do it. And if you're a small business closing down and need to restart, or if you're trying to reinvent yourself, now is a good time to do it, considering a number of things. For example, certain occupations are obviously being laid off, certain retail positions and things like that, but other areas, there's a lot more opportunity, such as our IT area. everyone's going online with a lot of their programs and their offerings and how they serve customers. So obviously IT is a great area to get into if you're trying to reinvent yourself and look at new opportunities. But I don't know how that kind of ties in, or how, Christine, we can tie that in with just the, yeah, we may say it, the new normal. We may have to say that word. I know it's a bad word, but but thought is, how do we tie into some of the services, what you're trying to do, Christine, just kind of sharing how individuals can continue to hopefully keep their business open if there's any resources and things you want to share. So I'm kind of free and open to any ideas and suggestions you have.
Okay, sure. Well, I don't want to by any means overtake the conversation. I can just share, you know, we're here to help you if you're a small business owner. If you believe you need to close your business or sell your business, we're here for you to do that as well. And you know, if you do that and you need to reskill or do a career change, the college is here for you with many different options.
Yeah, and I don't know if our businesses, it's probably rare circumstances, but those who are seeing an increase, so like Lowe's and Home Depot, I mean, they're getting a lot more business because of you know, people want to do more at home and take care of their garden and all that. So I'm not sure, speaking to those smaller mom and pop places like Horton's Nursery, for example, are they seeing an increase or labor needs? I'm not sure, but I guess the thought is if you have an increase in some businesses, we have training and you have free training resources and ways to point them to that. So if we can line it back to maybe some of our fast track programs, if that makes sense. Yep. I don't have the barometer right now where business might be in some of the small business situations. I don't know if you could speak to that. But if there's a training need that we can align back to some of the workforce courses in IT, healthcare, trades, manufacturing, certainly, and also CDL, is there a tie in there at all, Christine? I guess that's a good question that I want to ask.
Okay, definitely. I've got you covered. I'll make you look good.
Sweet.
Do you know, has the Go Virginia grant been approved yet, or have they just gone after it?
It's still live in the approval process. It's too early to say, but yeah, we're on a side note, we're keeping our fingers crossed for that ability to use the campaign dollars to share our training opportunities. So keeping fingers crossed, but we can't announce it yet.
Can't announce it yet. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I wrote it down and then marked it out.
Yep, thank you. All right, I'm good.
All right, so let's go ahead and we'll knock the first 10, 12 minutes out, and then we'll stop for a second and regroup and figure out what we want to do in the second segment. Does that work?
Yep.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We are pre-recording today's conversation with Guy Curtis. It is LFCC Day, so Guy Curtis is sharing a Zoom screen with me from Lord Fairfax Community College's Workforce Solutions, though technically he is in his office at his house. We are recording today's show on a fairly beautiful, so far not too humid Wednesday morning. You, of course, are listening to it on Thursday afternoon. Also on the screen with us is Christine Kriz. She's the director of the Lord Fairfax Small Business Development Center. We're going to talk a little bit about transitioning, about reopening, about reskilling, learning new things. We've got all kinds of stuff that we're going to talk about today, Guy, because you always bring a good list of things to talk about. Well,
thank you. Thanks for having us back on, and I'm glad you're allowing us back. So, but yes, we definitely have a lot of opportunities, and it's hard for many folks right now because of the challenging times that we're in. But you know, those who have the opportunity to rethink, re-strategize, whether you're a small business or if you're an individual re-seeking a career change, we're here to help in a number of different ways at the college. And so we want to share some of those opportunities and some of those updates. We're very excited to begin opening our campus again. A lot of our courses that were paused during the pandemic will resume next week, actually on the 13th. And many of our in-person courses also are resuming too. The college itself has continued to be online and done a lot of remote learning, and the college will continue to do that this fall as well. But the in-person courses are still happening and taking place at Workforce Solutions and around the college. So we're hoping, obviously, to encourage folks to consider those as they're in certain situations, if they're able to look at the career training programs we offer, and of course the small business resources we have with Christine Kriz and Small Business Development Center.
And Guy, I guess it's really convenient for you to have Christine literally just down the hall from you, because she's dealing with businesses, I would imagine, and I know she's going to speak to this, that are either struggling, they're growing, or they're closing. And if they're doing the closing part, they've got to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their life. And she can send them to you. And the same goes for the other way. If you have somebody who's taking some of these classes because they want to start a business, you can send them right down the hall to Christine.
Absolutely, and the handoff is very organic and natural sometimes, depending on the individual and where they want to go. And unfortunately, many businesses may have closed or are about to close soon, and she has a tremendous amount of resources to help with those folks. But if they're a point where, you know what, I'm done with the small little business I've been running for years, I want to transition to something entirely different, we can certainly help them there. But she's the expert to help those individuals if they are unfolding their business and handing things off to maybe another business owner, or if they're moving on. She would be a great resource to do that. But certainly, if thinking an entirely new career, we can help in many different ways. And so, yes, we're happy to have her just down the hall in a quick, short distance to hand off those prospective interested business owners and students.
And Christine, Guy brings up a good point, because we've done so much talking, at least I have in particular, about the impact that COVID-19 has had on the business community, on us as regular people in our everyday lives. But he brings up a good point, because some business owners may decide, this is it, I'm done. It may not have anything to do directly with the pandemic. The pandemic just made them realize, I'm too old for this, or this isn't something I enjoy anymore. And that you're kind of a really great resource for them to come as a starting point to get to that end point, right?
Definitely. You know, one thing we know from COVID, it's given us all a chance to slow down a little bit and evaluate our life choices and what we're doing. And we know that, you know, a small business is kind of like raising kids. It's the most rewarding and the hardest thing a person could ever do. And so there may be folks out there, if you've decided that, you know, maybe owning a small business isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life. Maybe you want to sell it, or maybe you want to close it, or maybe, unfortunately, you're struggling with it. We can help give you the tools and counsel you through the steps to close or sell a business. And then, as Guy mentioned, it's very organic, right down the hall from us, and or through a Zoom meeting. If you're more comfortable meeting via Zoom, we can help connect you, because they've got a lot of great career programs in IP, in CDL, in business. I mean, there's a lot of different options that if you decide to close your business, you owe it to yourself to reach out to Workforce Solutions and find out what they have available. And, you know, potentially keep an eye open, because potentially there may be grants in the future to help pay for that fast track career changing or upskilling. Nothing in stone yet, but just keep looking at and researching the LFCC Workforce Solutions.
Well, and the other piece of what you just mentioned too, Christine, is businesses come to you in all the different stages of business, whether it's, hey, I think I have an idea and I don't know if it's a good business, to I've been in business 5 years, 10 years, and now I need to add employees, or I need to add a product line, or I'm adding in-house manufacturing to what I'm doing now. And then they need training. They need to know, how do I hire these people? And then how do I get them trained to do the job that I need? I'm sure you guys work pretty closely on that as well.
Sure. You know, a lot of these small businesses, if you're listening, you know, you've had to pivot, and you've probably had to learn a lot of new tools. And as you reopen, your business may look different. You may not have your same employees. You may need employees. You may need to train them. And the college has some great classes to help you do that. And we can connect you very easily.
Guy, how has it been working from home from a communication perspective? Have you guys seen an uptick in people reaching out saying, I'm interested in this or that, because they're home and they're rethinking their life choices and their work options?
Yeah, certainly. Like many of businesses who've had to adapt to this new online environment, we've done the same as well. Fortunately, we the college itself had a lovely license to live chat. So in other words, we're now live chatting with our customers remotely, and we've always been there remotely, but I guess now we can connect with them much easier. So I think, yes, with this new pivot and this new change of the online environment, just the other day, personally, I went to my son's and daughter's orthodontics appointment, and they're texting me to be ready to come inside to the office to live with the kids. So there's this new way of like interfacing with customers, and now with this new online environment that we're really focusing right now just to keep ourselves safe, that's a chance to pivot, like Christine said, to a new opportunity for a small business, or if you're thinking a whole new career to go out on your own to join another business, we have the training programs to kind of line you with that. And also a quick fast track way to do it, something that we've been offering for years, which are career changer programs to help someone reinvent themselves and find themselves in a high demand career area. But we brought that back. So back in 2008, 2009, emerged these boot camp style programs that were very, regimented, short-term in nature. We've always offered career changers that take weeks and sometimes obviously not years, but these new boot camps are back. And so one of the big areas that we have a mini boot camps in is our IT area. So if you're looking to get in IT, and that's one observation we've seen with labor market data, is that many retail positions have closed and minimized the amount of opportunities they have, but we've seen an emergence of IT needs, so software development, web developers, IT infrastructure, IT help support desk. So all these different type of roles, whether a small business wants to take these on to incorporate into how they provide services to their customers, or if it's an individual trying to reflect what's happening in our local environment, it's just a great way to pivot and provide a new opportunity to either rebrand yourself or find new ways to meet where your customers are. And so we have those opportunities that are reflected. And those boot camps, as I mentioned, are a quick way for an individual to get into it. Or if you have an employee that you have on board now that you want to upskill as fast as you can to reflect today's market. On the call before we got on, Janet, you were talking about how convenient it is to have things delivered to your house, or if you go pick up an order. So I've been noticing personally, so many businesses are incorporating this safe distancing and using technology to support it. Just thinking of ways for folks to really reinvent their business to how they provide a service. Online and IT environment is going to be a great way to really focus their strategies in upskilling their own personal employees, or if they're wanting to jump off on their own to invent themselves entirely differently.
I've always joked with a lot of my business owner friends and colleagues about how sometimes it feels like here in the Shenandoah Valley, we're 10, maybe 15 years kind of behind what we see in the major metro cities, and it takes a while for us to catch on. But I think this kind of sped that up a little bit. And you're a local resource because while you can look at these big national numbers and see this data, you're able to pull that into something right here in our community that the two of you can then say, hey, this is what we can do. It doesn't have to be a big box store or a major chain that can only offer this particular type of service.
Right. And, Janet, we were talking prior to recording this as well, and Janet's a great marketing expert as well. And we both agree, if you're listening, if you switch to online e-commerce during COVID, please, please, please do not forget about that and let it go by the wayside now that we're gradually reopening, because customers will want different options and not everyone feels safe. And if you're not skilled in that area or want some training or want to train your employees, the college is here for you to be able to do that, either through counseling at our center, at the SPDC, through workforce classes. You won't find a better group of people that are willing to help you with your individual needs.
Well, on that note, guys, since she said something nice about me and gave a compliment to you, we're going to take a break so that people hear something good before we go to the commercials. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Guy Curtis. He is with LFCC's Workforce Solutions. Christine Kriz is also on the Zoom screen with us. She is the director at Lord Fairfax Small Business Development Center. It is LFCC Day on the screen. Again, we are pre-recording this on a Wednesday morning. You, of course, are listening to it on Thursday afternoon. Regardless, we're going to be back in about 2 or 3 minutes. First segment done.
Yay.
Guy, was that what you were looking for?
Yeah, exactly. I think the handoffs back and forth were great, and that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure where to go next as far as just what to share. If you want to expand on some of the services you are providing now, Christine, or if there's any other resources, we could jump into some of the funding opportunities that we have through our classes that we offer. But maybe that could be the next transition point.
Okay.
Can we frame it? Because and I don't remember which one of you said it in our pre-show talk, was talking about transitions. So maybe that's a good kind of overall theme to have in the second segment is, right now we talk about the new normal, but what we're really living in is one big transition period where we're trying to figure out where we are and where we go, and then what that's going to look like 6 months, 6 years down the road. Do you want to talk, maybe, Christine, about what you're hearing from businesses that are in the middle of this transition and what they're looking for and what they need? And then from there, Guy, you can jump in and talk about programs and funding and that sort of thing.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, let's knock the second half out. Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We are sharing a Zoom screen today with Guy Curtis from LFCC's Workforce Solutions. It is LFCC Day on the screen. We are, of course, pre-recording this on a Wednesday morning. You're listening on a Thursday afternoon. Thank you for listening, by the way. Christine Kriz is also sharing a Zoom screen with us. She is the director of the Lord Fairfax Small Business Development Center. And we talked a lot about the different business climate that we find ourselves in right now. Some of it due in part to the pandemic, some of it because businesses grow and they change. And I kind of seized on a keyword that both of you had mentioned to me in our pre-show chat about transitioning. And Christine, I'm guessing you're in the middle of the greatest transition that we will probably see in the Shenandoah Valley for years to come. What are you hearing from business owners?
Sure. So, first, just some expectations from our top economists in the nation. They predict that it'll take us 3 or 3.5 years to get back to where we were pre-COVID. And that 30% of businesses, small businesses, will go away. And that 7% of all jobs will not be around in 3 years from now. And so what that means to you as a small business owner or an employee of a small business, or if you're, looking to find out what to do with your small business, you've got to evaluate and talk with your current customers to say, what do they want and need? And is this something I'm still willing to offer and do? Otherwise, if you're not listening and offering what your customer needs, you're going to be out of business in 6 months or a year. So what we're hearing that people need, one is more education on e-commerce. How do I best come up high in Google results? How do I make my retail physical location match my online store? And those are things that we can help consult with you on at the SBDC. Also, people hate to talk about it, but if you're a small business owner, you have got to be doing cash flow projections and looking at, a 20% decrease, a 50% decrease. If you don't decrease, yay for you, that's awesome. But you need to be doing these cash flow projections for at least the next year so that you don't make a irrational, emotional decision. We want you to have a cash flow plan in place. If, it's looking dire, we have had some calls where people have said, hey, I need to close my business. And that's fine. If you're a small business owner, you need to know that you just don't shut the door and walk away. There are lots of steps that you have to do to close a business with the IRS and the Virginia SEC. So please don't just close your doors and walk away. There are things that you need to do, and we can help you with that. And, we've had some people talk about selling their business. There are steps to prepare your business for a sale and ways to do that effectively. So if you're thinking about that, it's okay. There's a time and a place for everything. We're here to help get you through that, and also to prepare you for the next step, what that next step looks like. Some people may open a different business in a couple years, and others may transition into, other professions, IT or CDL or other businesses, and that's okay too. What we really want you to hear is that LFCC is here for you. We provide different options, and we're here to help you with that.
Well, and Guy, Christine touched on it a second ago for the next phase of your life. And I get a lot of, friends and family and even clients to a certain degree that say, it must be nice to have your own business and work when you want to work. And after I stop laughing hysterically about, when I want to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, don't even get me started. But a lot of people do decide after they've closed that business, they want to go to a 9-to-5 job or something that has a little more structure and a lot less stress involved. And that's where you're kind of there to say, well, what interests you? What did your business do? What did you like about running your business? And here's a whole portfolio of programs. And you mentioned earlier that don't always take a year or 2 years. In some cases, they don't even take 6 or 8 months to complete.
Right. And that's what we really want you to hear. If you have to close your business, that's okay. We're here to help you get through that and get you through the next step. And just as you said, Janet and Guy mentioned, please don't think this is an incredible hurdle that you can't do. These programs, some of them are short programs. As I mentioned before, they're the localities and the college. There are lots of people looking at different grant opportunities. Nothing in stone yet, but please know there is hope and there is a future, and we're here to help get you to that future, whatever that may look like.
And Guy, the fast forward programs are the first thing that pop into my mind. I swear I feel like I could maybe even do the show without you now. I've learned so much from everything that you've talked about when you come. But that's a really good example because that's a whole bunch of different types of job opportunities in those fast forward programs, isn't it?
Exactly. So depending on where you are, if you are a small business owner or someone who's continuing to work, certainly you want to continue with some kind of income. But our programs do allow for the opportunity for, the closure or dismemberment of your business.
The transition.
The transition. That's the word I was looking for. So the transition of going out of that small business, even though it is a lot of time and effort to kind of, wipe your hands clean and walk out the door kind of a thing. But the thought is you can still train and still maintain a job on the side too, or run a small business. So in other words, a lot of the fast track programs do take weeks and they don't take years to complete. And the great things about them is that they're aligned with a lot of in-demand jobs that are out there right now that are challenging to fill by owners in the companies that are local. So if I want to train a couple days a week, or if I want to train full time, we have boot camp styles where you can immediately train if you've been unemployed for several months and looking for that next opportunity. There are funding opportunities for those who have been dislocated because of their closure of their company, for example. Or there is fast forward funding that Janet, you've heard a lot about that we will quiz you on later. So, so the thought is there's a lot of funding opportunities, but there's a lot of flexibility depending on the career you want to get into that's high in demand, or the training that you're able to do. So obviously folks still want to maintain that work-life balance and maybe still work a full-time job or a part-time job as they go to school. So if you're needing to immediately train, we can work with you on that. But also if you need to take time to transition from one career to the next, you have the autonomy to do that, whether it's out of a small business that you're closing or reinventing, or if it's a small business that you're handing off, whatever it might be. We have that autonomy and the ability to have you train either on weekends, nights, evenings, and very flexible training, even during the day too, during the week, to allow you to still have that freedom and opening time frames.
And I think the really cool thing about Lord Fairfax Community College in general is, you know, and you guys take full advantage of this in Workforce Solutions, is the online piece of it. I mean, you saw so much in the national news about the struggle for public school systems and some colleges and universities to make, again, that transition to online learning. You guys already had a lot of programs that were already being done online, so people could do them nights, weekends, on their lunch break and get some of this training in without having to physically set foot at the school.
Right. Believe it or not, the college system, community college system of Virginia, is a leader in the state among online courses. So compared to some of the 4 universities and other institutions that are out there, we're one of the top leaders of online courses. We've always been there historically. And so it was a natural transition for a lot of the courses that, whether they're credit or non-credit, to transition to the online environment. So if we're using Canvas or the old version of the Blackboard, whatever it might be, that our instructors or staff are very flexible and adaptable. And I think it's where Christine is kind of probably driving it too. For those businesses that need to adapt and transition to a whole new world, a lot of them are being faced with that, but we're able to, luckily, kind of pivot quickly and adjust to the demands. And I think this fall will continue to be online in some way or form. And of course, our hands-on courses that we are offering in person, we are taking the strict cleaning and also social distancing guidelines that we need to make sure everyone's safe. And so as students return to campus, as folks come into our campuses, we are taking very strict measures to make sure everyone's safe, and we'll have a lot of that language available as you arrive. But we want to reassure folks too that it is safe to join and start training again. But if you feel more comfortable going online, that opportunity is certainly there for you in a number of different ways. So that's a great way that offers flexibility, but certainly a lot of the hands-on stuff that eventually you have to get here in person for is available, but still safe for you to do so.
So, Guy, as we wrap up, where can people get more information about all of these different programs, about the boot camps? Where is the best starting point for them if they think they're at a point where they want to make some sort of change?
Sure, absolutely. Our website is a great place to start, lfccworkforce.com. You can live chat with us. You can give us a call directly in our offices. We have people answering phones right now. Or just shoot us a message real quickly just to see if there's a specific question that you have. And certainly reaching out to Christine, let her plug her website as well too. But we can, if you reach out to us directly at Workforce, we'll make the transition to hand off if you have small business questions and needs that need to be addressed that she can answer for you.
And what is the web address?
lfsbdc.org.
And Guy, yours is?
lfccworkforce.com.
Awesome. And Christine, real quick, for somebody who's been living under a rock for I don't know how long, tell me real quick about the SBDC, because we've talked a lot about your role in helping businesses open and grow and close and all of the different various stages of being in business. What does the Small Business Development Center do, and how can people reach you?
Sure. So we're federally funded through the SBA and supported as well through the local economic development authorities. And what that means to our public is that they receive free consulting from us on anything around starting a business, preparing a loan application, growing, managing, or selling your business. So we've got experts in different areas of business, and we're here to help you. We can meet via Zoom, telephone, or from 8 feet apart.
And you mentioned a second ago, but tell me again, what is the web address?
lfsbdc.org. Lord Fairfax, SBDC.
Awesome. Well, we are going to wrap up today's conversation for LFCC Day. We have been sharing a Zoom screen with Guy Curtis from LFCC Workforce Solutions. Christine Kriz has joined us as well. She is the director of the Lord Fairfax Small Business Development Center. Thank you guys for taking some time out of your morning to have a conversation with me. I appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Tomorrow on the schedule, we are going to be talking with Turner and Mary Kay Kobayashi from Audley Farms. The Clark County Farmers Market is opening up this weekend, so I'm going to have a conversation with them as you listen to this tomorrow on Friday afternoon. However, as I'm sitting here on Wednesday morning, I'm recording it this afternoon, so I need some training guy in calendar management and what day of the week it is. Do you think you could help me there?
I think you're doing great, actually. You're pretty intense.
But regardless of what day today is or when you're listening to this, because again, you could be listening to it on a podcast and it could be July by the time you hear this show. I will be back on the air with you tomorrow, a few minutes after noon, and I will definitely have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you. All right. Yeah.
That was fun.
And Guy, I can't remember if I told you. So, in the past, I used to try and not really draw attention to the fact that I was pre-recording. When I would do it in the studio, I would always say, now remember, today is whatever day it was going to air. And then Andrew sent me this note that he got from his FCC attorney, who sent it to him explaining that there was a radio station I want to say in Houston, that was sued because they were airing shows that sounded like they were live, but they were pre-recorded, and they weren't telling the listeners that they were pre-recorded. And I knew I'd seen that on TV. Like when you watch segments on like the Today Show, it'll say recorded earlier, but I never really thought about that. Well, apparently the FCC doesn't like that. If you are not live, you can't pretend that you are. And in this particular case, they found out because it was a sports show and this guy was doing this interview with somebody else, but it turned out the host that was doing the interview had died days earlier. And then somebody heard this and thought, wait a minute, how is he doing this interview? He died 3 days ago.
Oh,
And
no.
so they lodged a complaint with the FCC and they got fined $50,000. So Andrew says from now on, you have to say that you are pre-recording. So now I make a whole big thing out of it since I'm doing so many of them via Zoom now, to say, hey, this is what's going on and we are not live.
Wow.
Well, I promise to try not to die before tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you. All right, my dear. So, Christine, I was planning on coming to that town hall, and I may still be able to make at least the last end of it, but now I've got to record another show. I've got to record Mary Kay and Turner Kobayashi for the Clark County Farmers Market. So
there's, and I'll share it with you after, there's a neat website that Clark, Frederick, Winchester, the Chamber, and us have put together that businesses can take a pledge about being safe, and we'll help market their business. So I think I can't remember what we decided on, Safe Shenandoah Valley or Shenandoah Valley Safe. I'll share it with you after.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Thank you. Go have a good rest of your day and try and stay cool because I think it's going to get hot and humid again.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks so much, Janet.
See you guys.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks,
Bye,
Christine.
guys. Thanks.
See ya.